Our grant is a SARE grant through Sustainable Ag, and our goal is to develop a beginning point for the Good Food Charter for beef cattle, with the premise of trying to source 20% of the food locally by the year 2020. And so we are very fortunate to have several 100,000 acres of fairly lowly used potential grasslands in northern Michigan. And so our goal then is to first establish a point of education by identifying 20 producers in northwest Michigan that would be willing to go through essentially a 3-year process where we have grazing schools, grass finishing schools. We're doing on-farm work, so ultimately our extension specialists and other colleagues would be working with the producers at their home to help with their soil quality, their forage management program. We're also offering for each producer a $1,500 grant to try to do some small improvements on their grazing. And so concurrently, we want to marry the production aspects with the food distribution and the culinary. So our next step then is we work at Lake City Research Center on the production components with our producers. We also are going to engage Ebel's Packing, which is our closest USDA inspected packer. And so what we'll do with them is work by taking grass finished steers from Lake City and trying to first do a pilot to push them all the way through the value chain. So what we'll do then is look at what the carcass cutouts are of these grass finished steers. And then also we are going to work with Cherry Capital from a distribution perspective and ultimately the culinary in Traverse City and outlying areas to where we can work with them on the different nuances of preparing grass-fed beef versus traditional beef, so the chefs can get a better idea of how to prepare things and what they think might be sellable. And so a big portion of what we're trying to do is to utilize the entire carcass. And so that will be another component of our grant, is trying to work with culinary to devise ways that allow us to use as much of that product here locally as possible. And by doing that, we capture the most value through the whole system. While more conventional systems might be more prominent in southern Michigan, it appears to us in looking at this area that pasture-based models are the fit. I think they cohesively mesh with the ecotourism component here in the area, and concurrently by proper management, I think we can build soil, we can develop increases in our ability to sequester carbon, and so it just is a good fit for this area from a standpoint of the general tourism, agriculture, and certainly there's a high demand for it as well. First and foremost, beef cattle on a local basis have a $3.50 multiplier. So for every dollar spent in beef cattle, there's a $3.50 additive value to a local economy. So that's huge from a standpoint of production. Concurrently, I think that with the higher demand for traceability, there's a higher demand for these grass-based meats. There's certainly opportunities, I think, for those that are there to take advantage of it from a retail perspective. What that number is, I don't know. And that's the point of the grant, is to work through this from a value chain perspective. Let's flesh out the economics and see what we can do. I'm hopeful and confident that we can develop models that will benefit everybody in the value chain.